With Glasgow's Global Climate Change Conference, COP26, set to conclude on the 12th of November, last Saturday in Stanley, a number of climate campaigners made it clear they wanted to see more action, both at home and abroad, on tackling the climate emergency.
At the end of the day, COP26 might not achieve anything. You know, we've had 26 of these now, and the last 25, they haven't done anything. So we're really saying we need to put the pressure on the politicians now to actually make real change.
Walking around the demonstration, this kind of call to action was repeatedly expressed. But what kind of action did campaigners want to see?
Well, firstly, I think I want to see corporations and businesses held accountable for, carbon emissions, and also sort of legislation for renewable energy. You know, these are things that can all be in place to prevent emissions. That's one thing I think that we can do. We have the technology to do it. The infrastructure is there, especially in the UK. Why aren't we already doing it?
I came as a black-browed albatross today. It's a top predator of the marine ecosystem, and so I came here to represent the entire marine ecosystem, or the ecosystem as a whole that's suffering as a result of the climate crisis. You know, it's a cascading effect, and ultimately we as a human population are reliant on the ecosystem for services and for a clean environment. So everybody will be suffering from it.
We've got to look at what resources we're using on the planet, so that people are going to come after us have got the chance to have the benefits of the sort of lives that we've been lucky enough to have. Really, I wanted to come down today to have a particular angle to talk about using an electric bike as opposed to riding around in a car, because Stanley's quite a small town. And a lot of the journeys that people do in cars are a mile, a couple of miles, something like that. You could probably easily cycle for a lot of them. And an electric bike, with this sort of wind and these sort of hills, you might need a bit of a push, so an electric bike seems a good option.
It's like there's a lot that's being talked about, but it's just being talked about. And actions do need to be taken, and quite drastic actions where, that will ultimately have an effect, like reducing our carbon output.
We can rely more on renewable energy, more solar, more wind. You know, we've got the technology there, and there just isn't the political will, and there needs to be more of that.
On the day, political support was offered by 3 MLAs, John Birmingham, Teslam Barkman and Peter Biggs, who were all in attendance. And the environment was at the forefront of many political campaigns in the very recent general election.
I think that now is the awakening of the Falkland Islands to the climate crisis.
Environmental issues have to be at the top of our agenda, and that's going to be challenging because, as has been set out in the strategy, there is so much to do.
It's not just this question about our carbon footprint, but it's also about retaining water, the health of our peatlands, and sustaining agriculture.
I think the environment has become very, very front and central to everybody's view of life. I think that we can have development whilst we care for the environment.
But defining how that environmentally friendly development can be made has been part of the discussion by world leaders meeting in Glasgow over the last 2 weeks, and is seen as crucial for curbing climate change. Following from afar, one of the headline agreements to come from COP26 is a draft deal calling for stronger carbon cutting targets by the end of 2022. Close to home, the Association of United Kingdom Overseas Territories has published a joint commitment to protecting 30% of the world's oceans by 2030. This is something the Falklands is expected to fully support. However, all local eyes will be on progress with the Falkland Island government's environment strategy. Published earlier this year, it sets out a sustainability vision until 2040, but currently only includes 3 number-centric targets. For real action to be taken seriously by campaigners, this will have to change.